Now back to matters education, where some class 5 and 6 pupils cannot write, according to a report by Twaweza East Africa that says up to a third of the pupils have difficulties writing. The report assessed pupils in Standard 5 and 6 using Standard 4 level English and found that children had challenges constructing sentences and basic punctuations. The report says the problem is rampant in public schools than in the private school. The project coordinator, Moses Kaburu, attributed the better performance in private schools to management and resources. Well, let's now link up live with Amos Kaburu joining us live from Eldoret. You coordinated this project, Amos. Quite startling revelations from this report. Tell us more about what the numbers had to say.
Thank you, Michelle. Maybe just to put it into context, we were guided by the policy context that children need to use English as a medium of instruction from class 4 because of the language in education policy of 1976. So our interest, which has always been on learning, is therefore to ascertain whether indeed the children have got the right competences to use English as a medium of instruction. And so we conducted the study in about 10 districts in the country. So this is not nationally representative, but it's representative of the districts that which are according to the 2009 sampling frame. What is, however, startling, or to put it, is that most of the children, close to 80% of the children, are unable to understand the language of the instruction, which therefore means that transferability of learning to other skills in science and mathematics will be very difficult if at all children just don't understand the language that should be used when they are being taught.
All right. What then does this mean, especially in public schools? 80% of students are not being able to read and write, majority of them being from public schools, then accounts for a larger chunk of our student population in the country. Is this a problem with our 844 system? Is it a problem with the way the teaching is being implemented? What is the root cause of this?
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. The biggest challenge is that learning has never been made central in terms of measuring the quality of education. There is too much emphasis on the inputs of education, more classrooms, more teachers, more what and what, but there is very little to focus on what exactly will lead towards our children acquiring the necessary skills, because at the end of the day, what you want is to have a child who has learned. And when we look at this critically, it points to the challenges around the teaching approaches that we have. And therefore, this is not just a pure 844 problem, but it's a question around the retooling, around the capacities of the teachers to deliver the content in the right way. We have seen in the last 2 years that the government has been implementing the largest education project intervention in education, which is Tusome. And this has led to significant improvements in terms of reading for children in lower grades. But there hasn't been such levels of inputs and such levels of intervention at higher levels. And this perhaps speaks to the low numbers. So one must be quite quick to do something, bring in interventions that will ensure that our children come out of school with something that is meaningful to them. Otherwise, as it is, this is what the Tanzanians will say, sio elimu tu ya bure bali ni elimu bure. It will end up not helping children if at all we cannot make quality a measure of education indicators.
We have to make that measure of education central as well, because alongside this same report by Twaweza East Africa is a report with teachers saying the performance in public schools has increased in the last examination.
Yes, that's true. If you look at performance in public schools compared to other years, one would argue that the performance has improved. But you also have to put this into context. Results from the previous was extremely contaminated. You will never tell the extent to which the results will give a true picture, because there was massive rigging. So I don't know what basis we can therefore use to say that performance has improved. All in all, you also need to realize that the commission, which is the Teacher Service Commission, has got other forms of indicators that it uses to judge teacher performance. And there will be cases like when they are mentioning that discipline has improved, there are aspects such as indiscipline cases, number of teachers who have been interdicted, conflict resolution has significantly gone down. And it's because of the structural changes within the commission. When you talk about performance, they are of course referring to the measures around performance contracting. And so they are looking at what people have been able to do, and therefore could easily attribute that the performance that we saw in public schools is as a result of that. But as a researcher, I will be cautious to say we need a trend line for us to establish the extent to which this is possible, or whether these are just flux that just occur in a particular year. So you need data for not less than 3 years for you to make such conclusive statements that performance has really improved. Otherwise, just looking at the situation last year alone and concluding that performance has improved, I think that's a little bit too premature to make such a conclusion.
All right. Well, finally, with this happening now and the introduction of the new 2663 system set to be implemented in the near future, is time right for us to move to that big transition, considering this problem with learning in schools?
Yes, it is important that we move, because we also can't keep on staying at the same point. However, we need to understand the fundamentals that require a shift. And the shift that we require is not just in the number of years, it's not just in the change of subjects, but we need a rethinking around teacher motivations, a rethinking around teacher attitudes, a rethinking around how teachers are able to teach. Because if you don't provide teachers with the sufficient mechanism, then you're wasting time. I have been to a class where a teacher, actually in class 5, where a teacher had written on the blackboard that identify an adjectives in the following sentences. And one of the sentences will say, she is a smart boy. So you look at it and wonder whether even if such a person will stay in school for the whole day, whether this person has got the lesson plans or what, it will still not lead towards improved outcomes. So it is the right time that we implement the new curriculum, but we have to know that what matters